What's up, everybody? And I know I've really been kind of lackluster on reviews still, but we got to do this one. Debut of tonight's Pop TV, TNA IMPACT Wrestling, new channel, new home, done with the Destination America era, and welcome to the Pop TV era. As the World Title Series continue on in the semifinals, they pretty much start off with Dixie Carter thanking everybody and being on the debut of Pop TV. Pretty much now they're going in their 15th year in the company of TNA Wrestling. And as she continued to talk about Pop TV, showing a lot about pop culture of this channel, EC3 came out saying, what a reaction, he says. And he says, this is no better time to have a Carter family reunion and pretty much talk about the problems that have been going on in the Carter family. And let's air out our grievances, he said, about why he is not the TNA World Heavyweight Champion and why he's had to do this whole World Title Series thing. As Dixie pretty much went on and said Matt Hardy worked his way to become the World Heavyweight Champion, then you caused a stupid injection to make him lose the World Title. Then pretty much Matt Hardy then came out, so it's the same old song and dance that you robbed him because of all these legal antics you put on, and nothing's going to stop Matt Hardy because, spoiler alert, he's going to become the new World Heavyweight Champion tonight, as he said. But then pretty much Eric Young came in and attacked them. Bobby Lashley came in for the save, but EC3 tires, and Eric Young got the best of him. As before they went to commercial, Matt Hardy jumped off the top rope and landed on all EC3 tires and Bobby Lashley before going to commercial then. Pretty much after they came back, well, by the way, this Pop TV doesn't have HD on DirecTV, so I don't know if anybody has Pop TV and they get HD on it, but DirecTV doesn't have it. And even though it's kind of, odd from Dixie Carter was there, but pretty much the first match began with Bobby Lashley versus EC3 semifinals, which wasn't the match was alright, but, it was a roll-up pin, and it wasn't really that great, so yeah, it was just kind of forgettable in a way. So EC3 moved on, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. They talked about the Miracle is going to debut tonight. Bobby Roode was shown in the arena talking about an open challenge for the Kingdom Mountain title, so that was going to happen. Kurt Angle came out talking about, he's going to be stepping aside and his farewell tour as he has faced many of the greats from Triple H to Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, I believe he said Sting, and many other wrestlers he has faced everywhere in the world, he says. But he wanted to handpick his opponents, and the person he wanted to go against was Drew Galloway, as he was honored to go against him. Jesse Goddard then came out saying, I should be facing them. Even though he got very response, you're talking to a superstar, a man that went from a reality superstar to a world-class wrestler. Eli Drake came out and said, you're only cool with all the teenage girls, and that's a fact, he says, because you're not really that great, but he wanted one-on-one with Kurt Angle. But then Drake put their egos aside and pretty much went on to say, they said, we'll take you both on right now, pretty much Galloway and Kurt Angle. Galloway and Kurt Angle pretty much made quick work of him and get rid of him then. Jeremy Borash was going to go talk to Matt Hardy, but Jeff Hardy came out there and saying that's a fighter, and he's going to become the world champion, because he went and I'm going to be there saying Hardy, Hardy, Hardy. So they were getting ready to do Eric Young versus Matt Left. Eric Young came out then and says, Matt Hardy's not going to make it. I took him out, ring the bell in 10, but Matt came out to do the semifinals match, which was a way better match. Even Eric Young hitting that pile driver on Matt Hardy to the concrete on the ground after lifting the mat up. Lifting the mat up from the concrete floor. But he pretty much went on to win the match, twist the fate off the top rope, beating Eric Young then. So that was gonna happen. EC3 entire talk to Jeff Hardy says that you're just gonna be a shadow of your brother. He says Bobby Roode came out to ready to do the open challenge, as his opponent was Bram. Since Bram still think it's the year 2006, 2006 will be his year, even though they see him in 2016. Roode went against Bram for the Kingdom Mountain title. Pretty much Bobby Roode won the match. And then after he hit the Roode bomb on him, Eric Young came out and attacked. They jumped him until, surprised to see, James Storm return to TNA Wrestling, jumping over the barricade, hitting the last call super kick on Young. And pretty much he went on and said 5-6 months ago the reason why he left TNA because he didn't like the direction he was going and what he was portraying. That whole Revolution thing didn't really work out well. So he's traveled everywhere around the world in wrestling to figure out what is he going to do next and why the Cowboy's back in TNA Wrestling, even though the only place we knew he went to was NXT. I don't know where else James Storm went to but NXT. But he was watching wrestling at home, and he talked about he received the biggest disappointment from Impact. He says, I've been in this company for the last 13 years. I built this house up. And then he went to talk about Rude and said, we made a lot of money together. He's got the beer. And pretty much Storm gave Bobby Roode beer. So I got the beer, and he got the money. And then pretty much the beer money saw him play. So I guess you could say this is now the reformation of beer money, folks. I'm surprised James Storm even came back to TNA Impact Wrestling. So I don't know. The thing I heard is that they paid him more money than NXT. So I don't know what the deal was. I didn't know if James Storm was going to be back in that. But if it's beer money, I'm cool with that then. So I like that tag team. I don't know what they're going to do, but hey. Beer money. It's a great. I was going to do that on camera, but beer money's back. I'm very surprised he came back. So I guess TNA did have the money for James Storm to come back in his contract. So we'll see what happens next. It's a lot of people going around different companies today. I've already said this in previous videos from the Wrestle Kingdom, not 10-1, about the whole Bullet Club, AJ Styles, Nakamura thing, and about how if their contracts, if they're really even going to WWE or not. But I am very surprised James Storm came back to TNA. But if it's like I said, if it's a reformation of beer money, I'm cool with that. And pretty much then they cut a promo in the back talking about they'll be teaming together 5 years. The TNA one night only pay-per-view live Friday night. So get ready for that. 6-woman tag match. The Dollhouse, pretty much since Terrence Terrell left the company, it is now Rebel, Jade, and Marty Bell going against the Beautiful People, Velvet Sky, and Madison Rayne. Angelina Love is pregnant, so I guess Davey Richards got her pregnant, and Gail Kim was the replacement tag partner. Gail Kim and them won, but then Awesome Kong came out and pretty much beat up Velvet Sky and them, and Gail Kim and pretty much did an implant buster on them. Pretty much, I guess she's in the Dollhouse now, so yeah. And Terrence Terrell got married also, so she left TNA. Even kind of promoted the company before she left also. So I don't know if she'll ever be back. And then it was time for the debut of the Miracle. As Maria's now in TNA, since we knew they left Ring of Honor, the Miracle Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett of, I guess, the kingdom that was in Ring of Honor, debuted in TNA, says, and she's now the first lady of professional wrestling. Do you believe in miracles? It says he came out in a white suit and like a straw hat, and talking about, if you're unfamiliar with him, go to YouTube. But he says TNA is going to be a game changer. Do you believe in miracles? I remember when professional wrestling used to be fun, and stop bringing all these old pat guys in here. That wrestling needs a hero. That he is pro wrestling Jesus. He's wrestling Jesus now, and he liked it when it was fun and mainstream. Now it's just filled with washed up, regurgitated people that call themselves wrestlers. He even talked about Matt Hardy being washed up, facing EC3 for the world title, and that he says, and I guess he pretty much went to the fence. If you believe in the miracles, he wanted them to say yes, they do. So I don't know. And this was kind of, all he had to say about the company, which is true about that, about building players. So Mike Bennett and Maria being in TNA after leaving Ring of Honor, we'll see that. But then again, like I said before, there's been a lot of Ring of Honor contracts that's been free ever since the Final Battle pay-per-view. People have yet to resign. Michael Bennett and Maria, so they're in TNA now. Jay Lethal, I guess he re-signed a contract, and he's the world heavyweight champion over there. Steve Corino, I don't know. Red Dragon's contracts, I still don't know. But we'll have to wait and see if they even re-sign the Ring of Honor, because it does look like AJ and them are coming back, and the Bucks this. I don't know what's happening to the Bullet Club right now, because it wouldn't be the same with all of them there. Matt Hardy was sitting there with his wife and kid talking about it's his dream to become the world heavyweight champion and doing this for his son. Galloway and Angle were talking back until the Wolves showed up saying that we want to face Angle, said we never faced you, and he says, well, we'll do it again on Friday night then. And pretty much Drake and Goddard said they wanted to be a dream match, but now it's going to be a triple threat for the tag team titles. Goddard's and Drake versus Kurt Angle and Drew Galloway versus the Wolf for the tag team titles. Matt and Jeff came out as the Hardys were ready to. The Hardys came out. Matt Hardy's ready to face for the world title. As EC3 and Tyrus came out, pretty much Tyrus. He told Tyrus to leave, and he says, "Can you leave? Yeah, let's go one-on-one." And Tyrus pretty much was like, "Cool," and he just left. As EC3 and went against Matt, then. EC3 won against Matt Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship, which was pretty much a really great match, I'll say that. It was the final match of the World Title Series, which I kind of knew these two would end up going against each other. So, I guess you can say that it was a lot they had tonight. And this is a good show for TNA, but pretty much EC3 prevailed, hitting the one percenter off the top rope. And I don't know how long it's going to go. Matt Hardy pretty much was pissed after and left, as Ruby Sky had a smug look and disgusted at EC3, even though he won the match clean and beat Matt Hardy. So EC3 is the World Heavyweight Champion again. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with TNA next, but this was a good return, new channel. I'm glad some good things happened. James Storm coming back to the company, reforming Beer Money, the debut of Miracle Mike Bennett, EC3 becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. I don't know what's going to happen next, and I didn't know TNA was still having a pay-per-view that Friday, but they could have a pay-per-view on the one night only pay-per-view. So it was a good show. TNA back again, Pop TV. Hopefully this channel will go up better for them this time than it did in the Destination America run, and that they can get some ratings and maybe get some guys to come over there and showcase new talent. Need some new talent, and maybe people will return, but we'll have to wait and see. Matt being the champion again, I'm good with that. So I'm out of here. See you guys later. Peace out.